Hey mama, welcome to another One Income Family episode. A couple episodes ago, I gave you a way to, quickly save up some cash for Christmas. And I gave you what I call a no spend challenge. And I got to thinking, if you're supposed to save all of your extra cash for Christmas, which if you want to learn more about that, go to episode 102. But like I said, if you are supposed to be saving all of your extra cash for Christmas, how are you supposed to host Thanksgiving if you haven't already saved for the holiday? That, my friend, is what today is all about. I am going to share with you how I host Thanksgiving using only my monthly grocery budget and nothing else. So plug in your headphones, grab yourself a pen and paper, and let's get to it. Do you find it hard to save or get out of debt? Are you constantly searching for ways to save money and live on a budget? Do you have big dreams only to be stopped by not sticking to your budget? Are you ready for financial freedom? Then you, mama, are in the right place. Welcome to the One Income Family podcast, where you will learn what it looks like to budget on one income, how to partner with God in your finances, how to budget in a way that's easy to stick to, and how to cut costs and save money, all so that you can start building wealth. It is my mission to equip you with these tools so that you can live in abundance regardless of the amount in your account. Hey, I'm Molly, a budget coach for stay-at-home moms, and I know what it's like to struggle on one income. I've lived paycheck to paycheck, relied on being frugal, and failed many budgets until I learned how to budget without tracking. This has allowed my family to pay off debt and build wealth all on one income. So, if you are ready for financial freedom, then go grab that stroller, plug in those headphones, and let's get to it. So you want to stick to your budget, but you're already doing all the things, right? You've got a budget in place, you're living a simple life, you're being as frugal as you possibly can be, and you're cutting costs at every turn. And boy, is that exhausting. Listen, budgeting does not have to be exhausting. When you work with me, you embrace a simple budget that uses systems. Systems, they are the fastest way to get you sticking to your budget. They give you back your time with automation. They create habits and put up boundaries, stopping things like overspending and starting things like saving. They create reassurance that you have the money for the things you need, and they give you the ability to save for the things that you want. So grab yourself a budget audit so that I can show you how to stick to your budget faster than you ever thought possible, and you can start living in abundance. Send an email to mollybennell@gmail.com. That's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL @gmail.com with the subject line budget audit, and let's get your budget simplified. Again, simply send an email to mollybennell@gmail.com and let me know that you're interested. Alrighty, so how are you supposed to host Thanksgiving using only your grocery budget? Well, let me tell you, this is something that I've been doing for a very long time. I grew up doing these systems, and then I continue to use them as I am now, grown and on my own, hosting my own Thanksgivings. And even, I can use a lot of these tips, even going to other Thanksgivings, right? So I can make it easier on other people. But I really thought that these would be some really great tips to give you. There's some things that I was searching the internet to see, what people already put out there. Yes, some of the things that I have are going to be repeats of what people say, but there are a lot of things that are different, right? Because it's something that is not just, stick to a budget, stick to a list kind of thing. So the things that other people say, I probably will just quickly go over them because you know what they are. And then I will dive a little bit deeper into the other points that I really want you to understand that are different, right? Okay, so let's just dive into it because I have a whole bunch of tips and I want to make sure that we get through them all. If there's something that really intrigues you, definitely shoot me an email and ask more questions if something pops into your brain and I don't answer it right in the episode. So make sure that you do that. But with that being said, I'm going to dive in to the 4 things that I do to make sure that I budget for Thanksgiving in a way that's not like overwhelming, right? It's something that I can just use my grocery budget for. So what I do simply to budget for Thanksgiving is I plan my meals for the pay cycle, which I have a episode on this on how I do my budgeting or my meal planning. But what I specifically am talking about here is when I sit down to plan my meals for this pay cycle that Thanksgiving is in, I count Thanksgiving as a meal. Whether I'm going to somebody else's house, whether I'm staying at my house, it doesn't matter. I count it as the dinner that I am going to be like serving that day, right? Because if I planned another dinner on top of that, or just did like a cycle where I went through the same stuff every single cycle, like say I had a meal plan that was a 7-day meal plan and I just did a reoccurring. Well, if I just continue to follow that on days that I have things going on, then obviously I'm going to get too much in that area, right? So that's the first thing that I do. Is I put Thanksgiving on the meal plan. The rest of the meals that I plan for in the cycle are generally lower cost meals, meaning that I make sure that they are only 3 to maybe 4 ingredients at max. I keep it simple, cost effective, and I try to make sure that they are stretch meals so that I don't have to buy more ingredients. And what I mean by a stretch meal is that I can use it 2 days in a row, because you know me, I love my leftovers. But this is what I make sure during this time, this season, when I'm trying to plan for Thanksgiving, is that I can reuse the same ingredients, and then it makes it so much easier and I don't have to buy more of it, right? So whether you like leftovers or whether you like to not have leftovers, you can still use the same system by simply just making sure that you have the same 3 or 4 ingredients that gets used on 2 days in 2 different ways, right? So you can stretch it. Some of these meals that I like to use, I'll give you some examples, are spaghetti, because it's real simple, right? Tater tot casserole, tacos, chicken and rice bake, sheet pan meals, one pot meals, things that have the meat, the carb, and the vegetable already mixed in one that can then be stretched out by doubling the recipe for 2 days. That is the best way to get a stretch meal with everything that you need inside of it, right? So those are some ways that I do that. The next thing that I do is I choose only a few dishes to serve, or maybe one complete dish for the Thanksgiving dish, right? You don't need to serve multiple side dishes or veggie dishes. Keep it simple. One side, one veggie, one meat, one dessert. And there you have it. You can serve everyone by, again, just stretching what you are already buying more of one thing. Maybe it's potatoes. You're having mashed potatoes. Well, buy more potatoes and you can have a bigger pot of mashed potatoes that will stretch for more people, right? You don't have to have 50,000 different things. That's usually what you get when you do a potluck style Thanksgiving, which is also one of my things that I talk about. But I just want to make sure that you understand that if you are hosting it and you're not doing a potluck style, don't go crazy. I mean, you can make it as simple as making one dish with one dessert, right? One pot meal, something like chili with cinnamon rolls. I couldn't think of that there for a second. But like chili and cinnamon rolls, that'd be a great Thanksgiving meal that you could eat together as a family, right? So there are lots of options and lots of things you can do that are fall related. They're fun. It's not all about, the food. It's about the family and getting together and just being together. So don't stress over the food. And then again, plan dishes that have minimal ingredients. Makes it easy on you and light on the budget. It's simple. Don't go crazy. The simple dishes are the ones that I go to all the time because I love them. Like mashed potatoes, like sweet potatoes. For some reason, I couldn't think of that. Sweet potatoes, green bean casseroles, just plain veggies and dip, right? Those are things that aren't super expensive, and then you can go more expensive on the meat, and then it makes it still a well-balanced, a well-rounded meal, and there's not a whole bunch of things, right? It's not overwhelming on you for cooking, and it's not overwhelming on the budget as well. Okay, so that's how I keep it in the budget. But I have some more frugal tips that I would like to share with you because I do think that they are important, and they are how you are able to, continue to stretch it and make your budget even better and maybe make more kinds of meals if you like that bigger potluck style, because that's what I've got on the brain is potluck. And so to do that, if you want that bigger style Thanksgiving where there's lots of different kinds of foods, host a potluck. Lots of people love to make a dish and bring one dish. I mean, it saves them from having to make 50,000 dishes on Thanksgiving, right? Make one dish and then bring it. Do the potluck style. You could also do a thing where everybody buys specific ingredients and then you all come to the house that you're going to be at. So if you're the one hosting it or your parents are hosting it, you can all cook it together. You can have fun cooking together, doing the things together, and it's less separation and more joined together, if that's something that you enjoy doing. You could also, I am notorious for forgetting drinks. I don't drink a whole lot other than water, not because I don't like it, but water and then tea are generally my go-to drinks. And so when it comes to feasts and big meals, I always forget about the drinks. And so maybe if you're like me, you could do a BYOB. I mean, it doesn't have to be beer, right? But bring your own drink kind of thing so that everybody gets the drink that they want to drink that day instead of you going, oh, hey, all I've got is water because I forgot to get a drink because I always forget about the drinks. Always. I am notorious for it. And, I'm just bad at drinks for some reason. But anyways, those are some ways that you can share the costs. Another thing that you can do to be frugal is simply to cook from scratch. Don't buy the pre-made stuff. Don't buy, even the canned stuff can sometimes be more expensive if you're doing things like sweet potatoes. Those things, so definitely make sure you're looking at the cost. Look at the price per unit, not the full price itself, because that's going to tell you whether it's cheaper or more expensive. But definitely, I'm going down a different path, but make sure that you are cooking from scratch as much as you can so that you can, one, it's healthier, two, it's more fun to do, and three, it's cost effective. Whether you want a traditional style meal or some other fun meal, make it yourself. If you're not good at cooking, then don't do a whole bunch of meals. One, do the potluck style meal, and then you can get a whole bunch of other meals, right? And you just focus on maybe the meat. Or you can just do a one dish meal, like I said, with the chili and the cinnamon rolls. You could buy the cinnamon rolls if you wanted to, and then make homemade chili. It's not super exhaustive list to do chili, and those are the things that you want to do. You find the meals that are lesser ingredients and they're not as difficult to make. So even if you aren't good at cooking, or you feel like you're not good at cooking, or you just don't have the time to do a whole bunch of cooking, then find a way to make it simpler on you. And because if it's simpler on you, it's generally simpler on the budget. The goal here is to focus on simplicity, and it will be easy and simpler on you, and simpler and cost effective and easier on the budget. Man, that did not want to come out there. Okay. The next thing that you can do is obviously, and this is the thing that I hope you always go to, is to use your pantry or your shelf, wherever you store up your goods that you keep on all the time, right? So use up what you have. Don't buy things that you don't need. Just look in your pantry before you make a list, which is the next thing. These are the things that you hear all the time. But make sure that you make your list based off of what you already have in your pantry. The next thing you want to do, which by now it's kind of a little late for this, but in the future, and use this also for Christmas, make sure that you are looking for deals and that you are buying early. Because if you aren't buying early, a lot of people might already have the things that you need and they'll be out, so you have to buy the more expensive thing, for one. And for two, it also makes it so much easier to be able to find the deals, because the deals generally come before the hustle bustle of everything that is holidays, right? Okay. The next thing that I want to talk about, and this is a big one that I've really been trying to focus on, which I didn't actually realize was something that I did until I sat down to make this episode. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something that nobody talks about, but it's a big thing. So I don't know what kind of party that you have, but the kind that my family has, since we aren't exactly like super close to each other, is we try to spend the whole day together. And so that generally means that we're there for more than one meal, right? So how you can strategically do this so that you aren't serving more than one meal is to simply serve a later meal time. For instance, if you're having a lunch meal, or if you're wanting to serve lunch, instead of doing it at noon, do it around 2 or maybe 3 o'clock. I don't know if you want to go that late, but we generally do around 1 to 2 o'clock. And, when you are eating for a holiday, you generally stuff yourself so full that when it comes to dessert time, you're not actually hungry or you don't want it. So what we usually end up doing is we eat our meal at that 1, 2 o'clock time frame, and then we serve dessert during supper time, which I put in air quotes because we don't actually eat supper. We're so stuffed from eating a late lunch that we're not actually hungry come supper time. So just eating a little bit of dessert fills us up and we're good, right? So if you strategically time your meal so that you can spend all day with your family, then that's what you need to do, is make sure that you're able to serve without having to make more than one meal. Another thing that you could do is you could serve a supper, and then instead of having like a big dessert, just maybe have a few like snacks at the beginning. Like if you have everyone say come over at like 1 o'clock, you could be like, okay, I've got a few like cracker, cheese, meat dishes here that aren't super crazy, just a little bit of a snack if you need one. And then we don't actually eat until supper time. Then again, you have that solved, like that time frame. Just make sure if you want to spend all day together that you're not doing it at noon or at 11 and then not being able to like being, okay, well, I don't have supper, so you guys need to leave before supper time, right? But there are so many ways you can do it. You don't have to do it those specific ways. It's just some ideas to help you figure out what your family does and strategically plan your meals around them. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is decor. Because I don't really do a whole lot of decorating. I decorate for Christmas, but not really for Thanksgiving. And it's not because I don't like the decorations. Trust you me, I love like the pumpkin look, and I love just the colors of fall and just decorating for it. But I like to decorate for Christmas right after Thanksgiving, so I don't really want a whole lot of decorations up. So, I mean, if you're that way, then don't worry about Thanksgiving decorations and you're going to save a buttload of money, right? But if you do like your decorations, you can make it simple, like just simply buying the paper plates with decorations on them for Thanksgiving and calling that your decorations. You could buy things, and this is something that if you want to always be decorating, then make sure you buy things that you can reuse. Don't buy the paper things that get thrown away, that just get ruined after a one-time use. Buy the things that you can constantly use every single year, or continuously use every single year, and then you don't have to keep buying it, right? You have the stuff. You just store it and you get it out when you need it. That's going to cut down a lot on the cost. You can also use things like nature. So things like this would be leaves or dried out flowers, pumpkins, pine cones. There are so many things that you can do with them. You can tie ribbons around them. You can put them in a glass vase. You can paint them. Depending on how DIY you are or how crafty you are, there are lots of options, or you could just simply set them down. I mean, I've bought pumpkins multiple times for the fall season and just sat them down right where I wanted them to be and left it like that. I didn't do anything with them. And that's something that you can do. And usually, like the pine cones or the leaves or the dried flowers, those are free. The pumpkins you do have to buy. But, if you plant your own, which is something that I like to push for in this podcast, then you can also have them for the holiday, right? So as I was also looking up and scouring the internet to see what other people said, I saw this idea that I'm like, oh my gosh, I might do this year because I think it's actually really fun. And so I just had to share it with you. No, I did not come up with this, but you could do a decorating party. So if you like to spend all day together and you want to entertain and you want your house to be decorated, you could say, hey, come over at 1:00, meals at 5, but come over at 1:00, there'll be snacks, and we're going to do a decorating party. Just use the stuff that you have, if you wanted to, or if you want to get those nature things like the pine cones and the leaves and the dried up flowers and put them out there for somebody else to paint or decorate or put together in some fun floral pattern that then can be put in a vase and set out to look at. I think that would be so much fun. I think I might do that this year for my kids. Put out some construction paper, let them color on it, maybe make some turkeys or some other fun things like with their hands, do some finger painting. I don't know. I've got all this stuff that I can use. And I can make some fun decorations with the kids while I'm cooking and keep them out of my hair, and at the same time be able to, have these fun memories together of being able to decorate for Thanksgiving, on the day of Thanksgiving, use it as part of the celebration and the fun together, right? You could also do things like carve pumpkins, which I was a little confused when I saw that one, but it made sense because if you get the pumpkins that are for cooking, then you have to cut it open and you have to get the guts out from the inside, right? So then you have this hollow shell of a pumpkin. You could paint it, or you could carve it to look like a turkey, or there's lots of options that you can do here. But you could also, if you don't get a pie or a cooking pumpkin, you could take the seeds out and make pumpkin seeds yourself. Again, fun activities to do together as a family with whatever you like to do together, right? There are so many options and so many frugal ways of doing these things, and it's so much fun. I'm super excited to do it, if you couldn't tell. But then you could use other things like candles instead of flowers, or find ribbon yourself and put these things together like I've talked about, this normal frugal things that people talk about. But like I said at the beginning, remember that decor, it's nice, but it's not really necessary, because in all reality, it's nice to look at, but it's not something that people are going to necessarily remember. They're not going to be like, oh, so-and-so had this decoration, unless you use it every single year in the same place that then becomes something that they're used to, right? But if it's something that you change up, or you just buy the paper plates, or you just get a banner or something that gets thrown away, it's not something that is going to necessarily be remembered. And this makes me think of my wedding, when people would always say, don't worry or stress too much about the decorations, because people really aren't going to remember them, because that's not what the whole day is about. Yes, they're nice to look at, they're nice to see, but it's not the focus of the event. The focus is you. The focus is spending time with you and celebrating what is happening. And that is the same case here, right? We get together for Thanksgiving to thank God for all that he has given us. Originally, it was for like the harvest, right? When you think about the pilgrims, but it's for everything that's happened in our lives. And yes, we should be giving thanks throughout the entire year, but this is a day that we come together as a family to celebrate our family, to be joyful and grateful of the life that we have and the things that we get to do. And that is what Thanksgiving is all about. It's not about the decorations. Again, they're nice to have, but you could go outside and just have the same fun with just a table and chair, or even just having like a picnic, right? I don't suggest that because it's a little chilly, but my point is you then have nature as your decoration. So you don't technically need decoration. It's a nice to have, and it's a fun family activity if that's something that you want to use it for. But my point here is that I don't want you to stress over it and to dwell on the fact that maybe your decorations aren't that great, or that you don't have any decorations because you're not able to afford it, right? I don't want that to be your focus. I want you to be grateful of the things that you do have, of the family that you have. Be joyous to God that he's given you everything that you have. And it's a time to really, be more humble instead of, I struggle saying this, but instead of feeling selfish, like, what do I want? Instead, it's more, thank you, God, for what you've given me. Thank you for what you've provided for me. Thank you for everything that is in this house, even the things that I don't have, because I am able to learn so many lessons. I'm able to embrace my season that I'm in. Thank you for the season that I'm in. Thank you for the lessons that I'm learning. The thank yous are endless, right? But I just really want you to understand and to really put in your brain that this day is not about the decor. It's so much more than that. So if you don't have decorations, don't worry. Okay, so that is the end of my never-ending list, or it felt like my never-ending list of ways that you can be frugal and ways that you can, squeeze your budget, or squeeze Thanksgiving, I should say, into your grocery budget and not have to spend any more than you normally do every single month. So if you're still uncertain as to how this can work for you, how you can get your budget to squeeze your Thanksgiving celebration out of it, or I should say not your whole budget, your grocery budget, then hop on over onto a budget audit and let's talk. I can show you what I'm talking about more in depth if that's something that you want, or just look at your budget with you and show you where the holes are or where you could tighten it up just a little bit so that you can use your grocery budget as your Thanksgiving budget, right? It doesn't have to be a struggle, but sometimes when you aren't thinking that way, it can be a struggle, and I want to make it easier for you. So to get yourself a budget audit, all you have to do is shoot me an email to mollybonnell@gmail.com with the subject line budget audit. If you didn't catch that, it will also be in the show notes, but it's, again, Molly Bonnell, that's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL, @gmail.com, and simply just let me know that you're interested and would like to look more into your budget so that you can use your budget, your grocery budget, for your Thanksgiving. And with that being said, I pray that you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you right back here next week on another episode of the One Income Family Podcast. Before you go, I hope this episode has ignited a fire inside of you, and I pray that it creates long-lasting impact. Did you know that you too can impact other one-income families? All you have to do is leave a written review, and you help get the podcast in the hands of other mamas in need. You can also text this episode to that friend who is also knee-deep in the same kind of chaos as you and inspire them to make a change. Also, your review lets me know that you're enjoying the show, and that lights me up. I get so excited to hear from you. Another great way that we can connect, though, is through the One Income Family community over on Facebook. So after you're done leaving that 5-star review, head on over to the community where you will find other mamas working their way out of the chaos. You can ask your questions and connect with others who truly understand what you are going through. I cannot wait to connect with you in the community. Until then, I will see you right here next week on another episode of the One Income Family podcast.